Hello darlings, my name is Mibo, and welcome to vlog number 2. At least since last week. So the Facebook Q&A went really well last time. I got a lot of comments saying that I should continue with the vlogs, even though I hate them. So I'm gonna go with it, just to get used to this. And it's really not bad. I had a lot of fun last time, so I went ahead and asked some questions on Twitter again, asking other people for questions. And Caitlin Berso responded, and I'm going to start off with one now. It came from a while ago. It's on one of the older videos by Poor Kate 42. They asked why my face cam was so dark. And honestly, I had to mess with the gamma bar on it to make it lighter, because I record in a closet. Yeah. Not really. But it's a good excuse, isn't it? So, there was that. I wanted to go a little bit more in depth, and sorry if the webcam keeps freezing. It does not like this at all. But hopefully the mic picks everything up. And again, if you hear House of Cards in the background, that's my husband watching it. Without me again. Oh well, I'll catch up later. Anyway, so Caitlin Berso had asked 5 questions, which is awesome. And the first one says, what is your very first video game memory? Tell us about the first time you ever experienced what a video game was. Now, the earliest memory I have is actually Frogger for Atari. And I'm not sure if anyone really remembers the Atari system anymore, but yes! That's the earliest memory, and I remember the frog looked like a green spider. It was just so horribly done, and the music was just awful, but that's the earliest video game memory, and it was Frogger for Atari. I don't think I ever got past the first level. I was like 5 or 6 at the time. I don't really remember. Maybe 4. I don't know. I do know they remade Frogger for PS1, and I had played that along with Frogger 2, but it just wasn't the same as the original Frogger. But then, like, shortly after that came the Nintendo system, so that was all, like, Joust. Joust, Snake, Rattle, and Roll, Paperboy, a bunch of games. Unfortunately, I never had Legend of Zelda for it, so that kind of sucks, but I had fun. Yeah, Frogger for Atari. That was probably the first time. Question 2 is there a video game commercial that you just love and has stuck with you for a long time? Yes, actually, when Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages came out for Game Boy Color, I believe? It was a CG commercial, and I fell in love. I absolutely fell in love with it, and it made me wish they had made a movie for Legend of Zelda like this. It was just so... The colors were so pretty, they're all pastels, and of course seeing Link in actual smooth 3-dimensional rather than the N64 graphics. I fell in love with it. That's the one commercial that I vividly remember. And I just love it. It was like the coolest thing at the time. And that's actually what made me want Oracle of Seasons and Ages, was that commercial. I guess it did its job. I mean, yeah. I had both of them. They're both fun in their own way. It was pretty cool. Yeah, I miss that commercial. Number 3 is, do you have any guilty pleasure games? Games that are generally considered by the majority to be awful, but you still just love playing. I'd have to say probably a majority of those would be on PlayStation 1. There was a really bad submarine game called Critical Depth, and it was, thinking back on it now, it was just awful. The mechanics were awful, the vehicles were awful. I mean, you played underwater, so everything was slow, really slow, unless you got the really fast vehicle. And of course I always lost. I'm so bad at those games. But it was fun, it was different, it It was a different kind of demolition derby underwater. It was pretty cool. I mean, the stages were cool. They were all different stages. Sometimes there was a sunken ship, sometimes there was a trench, sometimes there was just like a kelp field, and yeah, that's what I remember. Critical Depth was one. There was another fighting game. I don't recall off the top of my mind at the moment, but it was bad. It was really bad. You couldn't execute any of the special moves. Nothing would work. And the graphics were just horrible. They were just awful for a PS1 game. Considering there was, you know, Final Fantasy VII, Red Dragoon at the time. And of course there was always Legend of Mana. That was always been my favorite. Resident Evil, of course. There was Parasite Eve. So compared to all those other games, this one fighting game was just awful. The backgrounds, I remember the stages, it was always like the same stage. There was this one flat horizon, it was green, and there was like maybe something that resembled a tree in the background. Maybe, and then the virtual reality was just like blue with like green lines, and it was just awful. It was an awful game. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I don't. The intro was nice. It was like an animated intro. It was hand drawn and everything, like a Japanese cartoon. But I don't know. I don't remember the name of it. It's such a shame. It was still fun. Number 4 says, who, in your opinion, is the cutest video game character? Oh, that one is hard. There's so many. It's hard to pick one. Shoot. Oh man, that's really hard. That's a hard question. I'm gonna have to say Tricky from Star Fox Adventures. I love that little dinosaur. He's always like, let's play! Yeah, I'd say he's probably the cutest one in my opinion. It's Tricky. He was annoying, but he was cute. He was really cute. And I don't know, he's just cute. But then there's also, I know a lot of people don't like Navi from Zelda, but I liked her. I kind of thought Tattle was a bit, kind of Miss Navi in Majora's Mask. Tattle was a bit more annoying. So Navi's always cute. There's Tricky. There's, usually like the little sidekicks I like more as cute video game characters. But I'm gonna have to say, definitely Tricky from Star Fox Adventures for GameCube. Definitely Tricky. He was an adorable little dinosaur. And he was orange. So, yeah. He gets kudos for being orange. And number 5 says, is there a game you really loved as a kid, but looking back now realize it was a terrible, and actually is bleh. Let's try that one again. Is there a game you really loved as a kid, but looking back now realize is actually a really terrible game? That's a tough one. It's a really terrible game, huh? That's really hard. I don't remember many games. I played so many, especially as a kid. I don't know, it was like 50 or 60 games on PlayStation. And then not too many on the PS2. What did I love as a kid? I mean, it was Legend of Zelda for N64, but that wasn't really a bad game. That was a great game. Wow. This is harder than I thought. That's a hard question. Thank you for that. It makes me really think. That's really hard. It's a terrible game. The one game I loved as a kid, I mean before the N64 era, was probably Joust for NES. I don't know why. That's the one game I loved absolutely, was Joust for NES. And I remember it being so frustrating because you just fly across one end of the screen to the other. Definitely Joust was one of my favorites, but it wasn't necessarily a bad game. It wasn't terrible. The Nurse Paperboy. Oh, that was an awful game, but I loved it so much. I could never get anything right. I would just break people's windows. Wow, what was it? Was it on the Game Boy system, maybe? I didn't have that. I had Pokemon Red and Blue, Gold, and Silver. Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of the Ages. I didn't have that many for N64. And then there's GameCube. Didn't have that many there either. If I had... I'm gonna have to say Legend of Dragoon. It's the one I really, really loved, but the battle system was just awful. It would have these little squares that kind of spun around on the screen, and in order to execute your move properly, you would have to line it up, like time it perfectly with the square in the center. That was probably that one, but I I'm gonna spend 20 minutes trying to think about this, but I loved Final Fantasy VII, except the game, when I played it, it was glitchy. For some reason or other, I had to actually use a Game Shark to cheat out of that one, because for some reason I vividly remember the first boss was a machine, and it kept poisoning my party, and machines aren't supposed to poison your party, so I couldn't figure that one out. So I'd use Game Shark. Oh, I know what it is. The one game I actually loved that was just awful was Vampire Hunter D for PlayStation 1. Now, I know a lot of people probably don't know about this game. They probably haven't even heard of the anime, or the anime movie. There's Vampire Hunter D from way back in the day, and then there's Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust, which is probably the one that most people are familiar with. But they did make a PlayStation 1 game. This game was awful. You had no direction on where to go. You just had to traverse this castle, try to find these mirrors which gave you hints. And it didn't explain anything about the battle system at all. You just played the vampire, his name is D. There's a lot of funny bits about that for his name being D. He has a parasite on his left hand named Lefty, which in the anime version he's actually quite hilarious, comedic. But in the game, it's like he didn't do much, and like I said, the game is just awful. Like, you have a sword, but you can't really hit anything. You can jump, but you don't jump very high, and your cloak is always in your way. It was an awful game. I couldn't get past the first level, but it was still so much fun to play because I'm such a fan of the two movies. So, that has to be it. Vampire Hunter D for PlayStation 1. If you ever come across it, or look it up, it's probably on YouTube somewhere. But yeah, I'm probably gonna end up having to get to actually hook that up and play it just to show you guys. It's just so awful. But it was fun. I had fun with it because it was I was a big fan of the anime, still am. And I think both of them are based on a book. So yeah, I really liked it. Has to be Vampire Hunter D. Wow, this went on really longer than I thought it would. Anyway, thank you for asking those questions, and next week's vlog is probably going to be about what I have planned, maybe, or just Drabble, not sure. But, again, thank you, Porky42, thank you, Caitlin. Both of their links are going to be in the description box, so that you can go check them out, and Caitlin Bearshow is an awesome voice actress. She's just awesome. She's in Locked Souls. I have the demo for that visual novel, which is going to be coming up. And that's about it. That probably does it for this vlog. So thank you all so much for watching and for subscribing and following me on Twitter. I really, really appreciate it. I really do. I really like it. I can tell there's the love for RPG Maker games is growing and stuff. So I'm really happy for that. And I'm really happy that you guys like the videos I put out. And I guess that's it for this one. Hopefully I'm getting a little bit better at this. You know, one a week is good for Mibo Mondays. And, yeah, this will do it. So thank you guys again so much for watching, subscribing, and following me on Twitter. I really, really appreciate it. Like, I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. And if you liked it, hated, have a suggestion, or comment, put it in the box below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Alright? Bye bye now.